And I'm the Witch of Wonderlust. Today is a long-awaited video. I have had plenty of people ask me and request for this video, and I have been very excited to make this video. Today we're talking about shadow work. I am not an expert in any of this whatsoever, so please do your own research and make sure to back up any of the things that you hear on this video to make sure that you do your own research, because I am human and I make mistakes, and I am only going off of a few notes that I have tried to compile. Let's talk about what shadow work is first. So shadow work is something that I've been working on a lot this past year, and only now have felt comfortable about sharing kind of how I went about that. So shadow work, the term, was coined by a very early psychologist named Carl Jung. He was a psychologist in the early 1900s, before psychology was actually considered a science. He used the term the shadow to refer to traits of a person, of personalities, of thoughts, of people, of the things that we don't want to claim about ourselves. He states the shadow to be the dark side of the personality, the negative side, but in reality that's not how he portrays it, it's the way we view it. So really the shadow is the personality, the traits, the thoughts, the things about ourselves that we try to pretend that are not part of us. So the act of shadow work is digging into the parts of ourselves that we don't quite understand, and the parts of ourselves that we don't really want to look at, and really bringing those into light, understanding them, and then finally accepting them. This is not something that happens over a week, over a month. This is not even something that really happens over a year, because I've been working on plenty of different things myself over the last year, and while that's helped me a lot, I'm nowhere near done. And I don't think shadow work is something that you ever finish. I just think that you become better at it, and it changes your perspective of yourself and the world around you a lot. The shadow is a moral that challenges the whole ego personality, for no one becomes conscious of the shadow without considerable moral effort. To become conscious of it involves recognizing the dark aspects of the personality present and as real. This act is the essential condition for any kind of self-knowledge. Carl Jung, 1951. So he goes on to state that the shadow comes out in things like moral urges or dreams, or strange fears. Think of situations when you look back and you think, why did I say that? Or why did I do that? Or why did I react that way? That is the part of the shadow showing. So the list of common shadow behavior is harsh judgment of others, pointing out flaws or insecurities of others, quick emotional reactions, playing victim in all or most of the situations, pretending to have no biases or no prejudices, or having them and justifying them, or the Messiah complex. You know, when you meet those people who think that they know everything so that they can't do any wrong. Goes back to the quote of, "He who thinks he knows everything knows nothing." I'm gonna give you another quote. If you hate a person, you hate something in them that is a part of yourself. What isn't a part of ourselves doesn't disturb us. You can dislike somebody for something that they've done, but when you hate somebody, when something really just like gets you, there's something about that you need to unpack a little bit more of. Why does that make you so mad? What about it really angers you? And of course you might have an answer, but dig in it. It's really a lot deeper than just, oh, well, that's why that makes me mad. It's a lot of thought processing, it's a lot of emotion processing, which I'm not good at, but I'm getting there. And understanding why you feel a certain way about a certain thing or person or situation. Rather than confronting the possibility of being wrong in something, people often go to extreme lengths to prove themselves and to everybody else that they are not wrong, that they are correct, even if that means hurting somebody else. So this is the point that we have to face ourselves. There were a lot of beliefs that I grew up with that I am not proud to say that I held. I had to face them, and I had to turn around and say, well, you know what, I was wrong. And there are a lot of things that, there are people that knew me that I still talk to this day, and they would have said, man, if Olivia from years ago would have heard you say that, that would have been an interesting conversation. And it's true because, you know, we grow, we learn, and there's nothing wrong with saying I was wrong and I was incorrect, and now I have a better perspective. I have better and more solid and more information. And there's nothing wrong with saying I'm sorry, I was wrong. Facing that and coming out of that with saying I am learning and I'm growing, and accepting the parts of you that you didn't want to claim or that you don't want to claim and that you don't want to face, that is essentially shadow work. So it's some deep stuff. It's not fun, but it's definitely, it lightens you. It lightens the baggage. Being able to accept things about yourself that really scared you, it's a huge release off of you, believe me. So another quote, because apparently there's not enough in this video already. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. I really like that one. That one's a very good one, and it's probably going in my bullet journal. If you disregard the things that trigger you and you just say, oh, well, it's because of this, and you don't actually unpack the things like that, say that that's just how things are, and you're not really going to own up to some of the things that you should be owning up to. So yes, shadow work started out as a idea from this early psychologist, Carl Jung, and it was implemented in different types of therapy. The spiritual community also uses it heavily for soul searching and for enlightenment and things like that. And I think that that's really great, because I think understanding yourself better and trying to better yourself as a person and as a soul, if you want to get that deep, that's kind of priceless. And that will show and have a really big impact on your life. The more you start to unpack, reveal, and then accept the things that you don't like about yourself, because at the end of the day, there are always going to be things about ourselves that we don't like. But I think it's really empowering, and it gives you a lot of power in your life, and you start to realize that everybody is human. Everybody's human, and everybody has these things. And it just takes a different form. Everybody has demons in different forms. So, how to do shadow work? The first step is to just take a step back. Look at everything objectively as if you were looking at a situation with a friend or somebody else that isn't you. So you take yourself out of your own situations and you look at it from an outside perspective. You're going to have to point out certain habits or patterns in certain situations, or, whoa, that was a really bright car, in certain situations, and just kind of understanding and observing it. So meditation is a really good way to do this, but also you can journal. Why does that word make me mad or make me upset? Make me feel this way? Why does that phrase, why does that person or that habit or that place, that is something that you should sit with. So maybe it was a conversation all on the same topic, but that word that they used or that phrase or the way they said something, why did that in particular thing get to you? That's the little tiny seed that starts everything. It's finding those patterns of different situations, but that one same thing, and understanding you have that pattern and seeing it. So meditation is a really good way to do that if that's the route you go. It's a really easy way to do it, of just taking a step back every day. So you can either do this at the beginning of your day or at the end of your day, or both, or in the middle, or whenever, but preferably one of those, because it's kind of a start or an end. You can kind of reflect through your day. Personally, I like to do this at the end of my day because I kind of backtrack from where I am in that moment, either laying in bed or sitting down, kind of like I'm watching a video in reverse all the way back from there all the way to when I woke up in the morning, and I point out those certain points of the days that had me feeling some sort of way. And I kind of make a note of it. So you can either make a mental note or you can jot it down in your journal. So once you have those patterns, once you understand, oh, this is something that happens consistently, this makes me feel this way, then you need to question those things. So learning to reflect and pause before you react is a really big thing, and it takes a lot of practice. If you are in a certain situation again, so say when somebody shouts at you, instead of reacting the way that you first want to react in the first few seconds, pausing and understanding, oh, I'm having one of those reactions, you can go back later and kind of ask yourself, well, why did I feel that way? Why did that that piece trigger me. So don't try to justify it. Don't try to say, oh, well, it's because they were yelling at me. It's because they said this. It's because they called me this. But why is it that that thing, if they called you anything else, would have it triggered you the same? So it's kind of those questions. You have to really just sit in it. And it sucks. It's not fun, but it's something that must be done in order to reveal the shadow into the light. So finally, the third step is understanding and accepting the shadow. So these are not just easy 1, 2, 3 steps. These are just the steps that you need to kind of cut it up into, because I've been doing this the past year and I still don't feel like I'm 100% at step 3. I think I'm transitioning into step 3, but I'm not there yet. And so like I said, it's not a quick thing. It can take a few years. It's just up to what your pace is. Don't try to pull the whole shadow out at once. Pick one thing and slowly work at it. Figure out the patterns. Understand the things that make you want to react the way that you usually react. And then questioning them. Why am I reacting this way? Etc. And then kind of understanding where that came from. And most of the time, it goes way back. It's all the whole childhood things and the way you perceived things and understanding the way that you function as a person. It's a lot and it's very deep. So it's not something that you just kind of do just 'cause, you know? Taking what you've learned and understanding why those things trigger you and why you want to react the way you want to react. And then accepting that. And accepting that that is a part of you, and accepting that those things had happened. And then accepting that you can change the way that you react. And it doesn't mean that you're not allowed to be upset or sad or angry at certain things, but you can change the way that you react to those situations. And in return, it actually lessens the triggers. And I can tell you this from experience. There's been a lot of things that I have been pulling from the shadow into the light that have been ugly, and there were a lot of things that used to trigger me, just really quick reactions, just out of anger, out of being offended, out of insecurity, out of a lot of things, and it lessens the triggers. And it feels really good to not have those things just looming around you all the time, because I understand why I felt that way and I accepted it. And at the end of the day, I can decide to pick my battles. And I understand that that is a part of me, whether I like it or not. So understanding it actually lessens those fears, it lessens those emotions, and it lessens those triggers. And it's freeing. My challenge to you is to grab any old journal, try to sit back and look at things. What's something that makes you angry? What's something that really upsets you? What's something that makes you feel just gross? And why? Why does it make you feel that way? Why does that person make you feel that way? Why does that word, that phrase, that place, that thing, why does it make you feel that way? And start recognizing those patterns. A lot of people have different ideas of what shadow work may mean to them, and that's okay. So you can do this. I prefer to use meditation and journaling. I think both of those work really well in kind of being able to look back and see things I didn't previously see. And even with videoing, I actually used to make private videos on YouTube of just me talking to the camera, of me talking to future self. And I can look back and see those things in myself and see the growth, and it's neat. So choose a way that works for you. You can do a lot of these things in dream journaling, because the subconscious comes out in dreams a lot. So I would journal your dreams, I would journal some habits, I would journal strange thoughts or maybe things that you're realizing are triggering to you. I would journal and just write all of these things down. Or you can videotape yourself like I used to and post them as unlisted or private videos on your own YouTube channel, or keep them just on your computer or whatever, however you want to document things. But either way, I think documenting things is a very important way to do this. Shadow work is a very, very, very interesting idea and concept to research. So I highly encourage you to do your own research and figure out what shadow work really is going to do or mean for you. It's a really hardcore self-reflection and understanding and accepting what you see in the mirror. It's a process, and there's not really a definite beginning and end. If it is deep enough and you're having a really hard time digging through that, psychologists, therapists, people who are trained in that field are wonderful for helping that, because I went to therapy for 2 years. My therapist was amazing. He was awesome. It took me like 4 therapists to get to him, but because I was like, not you, not you. But the one that I got helped me a lot to kind of get that formula of shadow work. He didn't call it shadow work, but this was essentially the formula. And then going more into my occult realm, that is where I found the term shadow work, and then finding that it is something that is used widely in therapy. And so, yes, if you want to share anything, you can share your journal. You can share just the outside of your journal, because you do not have to share the whole thing. I think that would be terrifying, and that's just too much. That's just too much to share, I think. But I hope that this answered some of your questions. I hope that this helps. And like I said, if you have any other questions, leave them in the comments below and I will do my best to answer. But like I said, I'm not an expert in any of this. So do your own research, check it out. There's a whole lot to read. It's really interesting. But that's all I have for you today, and I will see you in the next video. And as always, best of luck, be kind to each other, and may your gods treat you as you've treated others.